About sounds, there is an object class that is sound source specific for that is specific for emitting sounds. There are two there are two classes: sound source and static sound source. If you want to create an environment sound that must loop and that must be localized in a point in space, you can use static sound source. You create the static sound source and you can set a sound for this static source. The specific parameters of the static sound source are sound name, that is the name of the sound asset you want to load into the sound source. For example, we can use some sound from Untitled. For example, drum atmosphere, no, horror violin. Okay. This is the sound. Here you can set the range of the sound source. Okay. In this case, the sound is localized. Okay. Take in mind that a sound, in this case, this is not you. Okay. If you want a sound to be also 3D, you have to import a sound file that has mono format, no stereo. In this case, if you note the sound is emitted, perceived equal from right and from left, equally from right and from left. This is because the sound I have applied to the sound source is stereo. If I use a mono sound, for example, to see is mono. Yes, in this case the sound is mono. If I use a mono sound, you can perceive the left and the right. You can perceive the three-dimensionality of the sound source. Okay, you can make different from right and from left. Okay, so important thing is that the sound file must be mono. Okay. Now, the static sound source is plays a sound in loop always. So the static sound source can be used as an environmental sound source. If you want to play a sound of that is not looping, you can use game machine. Every object in S2ENGINE can emit sound. Every object can be a sound source. How to do this? How to make an object to be a sound source? We can make an example using a custom entity. Okay, I create a custom entity. I create a finite state machine for the custom entity. I create these into the root directory. Okay, it's the same. Okay, new fsn play sound source, no, play sound. Okay, play sound. I set it to the custom entity. Okay, inspect. Now I add a state. I can state I can name this state as init. Then I add sound source, no source. I set the set source action. The set source action creates a sound source for the owner object, in this case the custom entity. So every time you want an object to emit some sound, update relate does the look okay, a moment. When I finish to explain sounds, I pass to river and lake. Okay. How to every time you want an entity, an object to emit, to play some sound, you have to set a sound source for it using the set source action. If you leave blank object parameter, the object owner of the game machine is the target of the action. Okay, so in this case we are setting the custom entity as we are creating a sound source for the custom entity. If I remember well, characters automatically, and also player character of the game machine automatically are sound sources. Okay, so you haven't to set the source. You have to use this specific action in the case of character and player character objects. Okay, now I had set the source for this entity. If I want this entity to play a sound, I can, for example, I can make this custom entity play a sound when it receives an event. For example, what kind of event? For example, an action event. Okay, action event. Okay. So we can make the custom entity to play a sound, a no looping sound, when it receives the action event. Okay, so I create a new state, playing sound. Okay, here I call the play sound action. Okay, the play action plays a sound, a given sound asset, in loop or not looping, given a range, given a volume that goes from 0 to 1. Global if you want these sounds, sound to be played not using the sound source we have created into init state, but using the global sound source. The global sound source is a sound source that hasn't a place of emission, but it is emitted all around the player. In this case, we want first play a local sound source. Okay, we can choose a file name, an asset to play. For example, the TV noise. Okay, no, TV noise not, because it is a loop sound. Okay, VC, always the VC sound. Okay. Okay, now if I send the action event to the custom entity, it plays the VC sound, water or VC, or okay, sound. Okay, I have first to apply the game machine. Okay, now I click on action and no sound is emitted. Okay. Why? Okay. Yes, it's yes. I have to add the start global transition for starting the game machine. Okay. Now it should work. Okay, I send event and the sound is emitted from this sound source. Okay, you can use a game machine of this type every time you want an object to emit some sound. Of course, if you use the sound source object, the sound source object is okay, this is another kind of sound source. Okay, so every time you want an object to play a sound, you can use something like this. If we want to make in this case the first time the object plays the sound can be replayed. Okay, to make the sound to be replayed, we have to return to a standby state. So we can create a new state called standby. Okay. Then we can goes to standby state when init is finished. In other words, when the set sound source is executed. So we go to standby, and then in standby we can check for action event, and then go to playing sound state. We can wait for some time using the timer. For example, about 5 seconds, and then when the playing sound is finished, we can turn back to standby. So in this case, we can replay the sound at a rate of 5 seconds. Okay, update. Now, if I send the action event, I wait for 5 seconds, and then I can replay sound. Okay. Okay. There is another kind of sound source object, that is the sound source class. It is a little bit different from the static sound source. The static sound source we have seen before, static sound source, is an environmental sound that is played always in looping state. The sound source instead, sound source can be also played not in looping state. Okay, when the loop is disabled, the sound source is played only one time. When the loop is enabled, you can set at which rate you have to replay the sound. We, as always, make the example with the VC sound. Sounds VC. Okay. Okay, now the sound is replayed every second. If I set, for example, 4 seconds, the sound is replayed every 4 seconds. Okay, if I uncheck the loop, sorry, the sound is replayed. Oh, sorry. No, there is something that don't work. Okay. If you want the sound source to be played only one time, you have to set rate to 0 and uncheck the loop flag. Okay, so in this case the sound is played only one time. Okay.